Hey everyone, today I've got a really small project, something that's been bugging me for a long time. We have a Honda Odyssey with a center console that is pretty much useless. You can see any kind of can or anything, any coffee cup or a travel mug just tips right out. So I'm going to extend these with some pieces of pipe and then they'll actually work. So all I need for this job, I got some 3-inch PVC. And I'm going to hold them in with Velcro. You could glue them in, but I think it'd be really tough to clean in the crevice between the pipe and the console. So I'm going to Velcro them in. So I got some Velcro strips, and I'm going to paint them up so that they're not white. First thing I'm going to do is cut these to length. You could just use a chop saw or something, but I don't want to get mine out, so I'm just going to do it by hand. And I've got a trick for marking a straight line on pipe. If you get a piece of fairly rigid paper with a straight edge on it, you can just wrap it around and make sure that it's tight to the pipe and that the ends meet. I've already marked my pipe. I've decided that 3.5 inches is where I want to be. So I'm just going to make sure that's tight and make sure my paper's lined up there, and then take my Sharpie and mark it. And you end up with a pretty straight line around your pipe. Now I'm just going to cut it with a hand saw, and I realize this would be a lot faster with a chop saw. I'm a hand tool guy. I like using hand tools. So I'll have to clean those up with a bit of sandpaper, and I'll probably round off the edges a bit just to make them a bit nicer, but there's one. Alright, so now my pieces are cut. Now I'm just going to take and flatten off the both ends. I've just got a piece of 80 grit sandpaper on a flat surface here. I'm just going to rub it along till it's smooth. I'm going to wear a respirator because I don't think PVC dust is something that you want to breathe. And then I'm going to take a file and just smooth off the upper edges. I'm going to leave the bottom surface flat because that's what's going to stick in the console. Alright, now I'm just going to take the 80 grit sandpaper and just go over all of them just to smooth off any rough edges and get it ready for paint. Alright, so I've got the 4 pieces cut to size, they're filed, they're sanded, they're cleaned. Now it's time to paint them up. I picked up this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch. It says it bonds to plastic. I've used it in the past. It seems to work pretty well, so that's what I'm going to use. I can't spray paint in here, so I'm going to take them out in the back and spray paint them up. Alright, so I put a coat of paint on outside, and just a couple things about the paint. It's 20 minutes to dry to the touch, and you have to recoat before 1 hour or after 48 hours. So I'd like to get this done today, so I'm going to try and get a coat on every 30 minutes, probably 3 or 4 coats. And it doesn't reach maximum adhesion for 6 to 8 days, I believe, so that's something to note. While that's drying, I'm going to cut the strips for the Velcro. We're going to hold it into the base. I couldn't find, I wanted to find a 1/4 inch tape, but I just couldn't find it. I stopped at 3 places and I was like, screw it. So I ended up with these 4-inch by 2-inch squares that I'm just going to have to cut into strips. And I cut one here already. It looks like about a 1/4 inch strip. And then I cut it about every 1/4 inch, about 3/4 the way through, and then hopefully that'll allow me to bend it around the shape of the round edge. Yeah, so now I'm just going to cut a whole bunch of strips and put notches in them. So another thing I can do while the paint is drying is stick my, I've elected to put the loops into the console. So I've got to, because I couldn't get the tape, I've got to put in, it's going to take about 3 pieces to get all the way around, and I'm going to have to trim it. So I'm just going to do that now. So another thing I want to do on this console is just make a little frame for like a box type thing. It's not going to have a bottom or a top, just a frame. I'm going to make it out of this 7/16 by 1.5" maple I have kicking around, and it's just going to hold like my wife's chapstick and hair ties and, you know, little knickknacks and stuff that normally roll around. And just for good times, I'm going to finger joint the edges to do the jointery, and I'm not going to get into the finger jointing because, or sorry, not finger jointing, dovetail. I'm not going to get into it. There's tons of videos on dovetailing, and I actually learned how to dovetail from videos on YouTube. So it would just be a direct rip-off. So yeah, I'll start that now. So I'm just starting to make the box for the top of the console. Mark my line. I'm going to make the box 6.5 by 3 inches. Yeah, so I'll just use my short shooting board to make it up. I use a Dozuki backsaw. I just cut it close, and then I use my hand plane to square it and bring it right to the line. So I got my box sides made up. I got all my finger joints cut. Like I said, I'm not going to teach you how to do finger jointing. Sorry, I keep calling it finger jointing. Dovetails. If you want to watch some really good videos on dovetails, you can check out Frank Krause, David Barron, Rob Cosman. They have great YouTube videos. They're basically the ones that I learned from just a few months ago. So now I'm going to glue up my box here. I'd use Titebond. I've got exterior stuff, so that's what I'm going to use, and usually I just use a little Q-tip to get it in all the nooks and crannies, and I tape up my joints so that I don't get glue everywhere, especially inside where it's tough to clean up. And I always mark before I start doing my finger joints, the back, top, that way I know exactly where everything goes. I had to tap that together on the floor because it's quite early and my neighbors will hear. And it looks so far like a pretty good fit. I'm just going to run some clamps on it. So the cup holders are dry, and I see that they're really, it's rough. Like the scuffing with 80 grit was just way too rough. So I'm going to re-scuff them with 220 and then give them another coat of paint, and then hopefully that'll be acceptable. So I've got my little box made, glued it up, sanded it, rounded off the edges, stuck some Velcro on the bottom, and I got my cup holders re-scuffed up, and got another coat of paint on them, so they're done. And I've just started sticking the Velcro to the bottom. And I've just got 3 more of the cup holders to put the Velcro on, and then I'm going to stick them in, and she's done. Alright, so it's all done now. I'm pretty happy with it. It looks like it's going to do the job pretty nicely. I could have spent a little bit more time with some of the sanding and stuff. There's a couple marks here and there I'm not too happy with, but it'll do the job nicely. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more stuff like this, be sure to like and subscribe.